This video is about attachment and why it makes sense. But more importantly, how even though you long to attach and love, that desire throws you off, causing you to find fault within yourself, trapping you and making you ask, what's wrong with me? And that's a scary question to ask. So I'm glad you clicked on this video because I want to start by saying something very clearly. Your attachment style is not your fault. It's not a personality flaw. It's not a moral failure. It's not something you choose or you chose. So what is it? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. But before I answer that question, make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell for me. I'm Joshua Alston. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm an emotionally focused couples therapist. And I'm passionate about helping people see how awesome they are and what gets in the way of that. So what is attachment? What are all these attachment styles that we hear about? And why does it have such a great hold over you and over me? And I would love to have you share in the comments the best word or words that describe this for you. If you're anything like me, you probably have words like anxious, avoidant, disorganized, confused, lacking, wanting, waiting. And if you stay too long, you keep thinking. That's where that question of what's wrong with me keeps coming back as we're looking and learning about who we are. But attachment is not about love. It's about safety. If you remember from the first video, when you were young, your nervous system asked one question: am I safe? If the answer was more often yes, your body learned to relax. If the answer was inconsistent, your body learned to be cautious. If the answer was no, your body learned to protect. None of that was your decision. It was a beautiful preservation of you. The problem is that you weren't taught to see this as a beautiful thing. You were taught that something was wrong with you. And sadly, you believed it. And parts of you still believe it to this day. Why is this? Because your nervous system doesn't age. So the lessons you learned on how to survive get carried with you through adulthood. The problem with that is that the brain that you had as a 5-year-old is not programmed to handle safety with open curiosity. It's programmed to handle safety using more of black and white processing. Right, wrong, up, down, good, bad, safe, unsafe. Then shame activates threat, and the threat keeps attachment patterns going, and then you get stuck. And somewhere in your youth, you did that so well that you became convinced that that's just the way it's always been, and it's all my fault. I am bad. And that's a really shitty place to be. If this resonates with you, please take a moment to share a comment of what you're noticing and hit that like button. So how do I go from I am bad to I am amazing? By giving ourselves permission to grow up and to see our emotions differently. Because like I was saying before, as a toddler, we relied on black and white thinking, but that held us trapped in an all or nothing way of looking at life. But if we allow ourselves to be open, to start using our adult brain, we will see that there's more to life than all or nothing. Let me share an example with you. The way that I like to look at this is by understanding and having empathy for our 5-year-old little brain. Our 5-year-old, or our toddler brain, has the black and white thinking, good, bad, up, down, left, right, safe, unsafe. And along the way, it had to make a decision that said, this is the answer. This is how I survive. This is how I get through things. And it made a decision. And along the way, we created awesome defenses around that. We'll discuss that in further videos. But we created an idea of what good and bad is, who we were. But then we never changed it. So now we're 20 years later at 25 or 35 or 45, 55. And we still have this same mentality of who we are. One of the greatest things I love to do with my clients is that they come in and they share how they learned to love as a 5-year-old. And I can quickly tell them how they still love today. Because they were never taught that I don't need that toddler brain anymore. I'm allowed to use my adult brain to discover things about myself. And that's one of the challenges we're going to give you, is this idea to have empathy for this toddler, that in our youth, black and white thinking kept us safe. But as an adult, if we use that same mentality, we will not function in a healthy way. We'll look around us and we'll have many moments where we say, I'm bad. I'll see my partner as they're walking out because they're frustrated, and I'll say, I am bad, or they don't love me. That's just the toddler brain. That's the way that the toddler was trying to understand life. What we get to do instead of saying, I am bad, is we say, isn't that interesting? Something is happening. Something important is happening. But instead of this finite, we are allowed to open our brain and ask the question and be curious and be open and start to experiment and look at life differently and say, okay, isn't that interesting? Something is happening. I'm going to be curious. I'm going to look at things. I'm going to grow up emotionally, which allows us to use the beautifulness, which is that part of us that says, hey, pay attention. But we're now then able to grow and to learn what it is to be an emotional, a healthy emotional human being. Okay, let me give you an example even more. When we go on a road trip with my family, I like to drive. And my wife is always there supporting in my passenger shotgun. And so there was a time we were driving, and I'm on cruise control going in and out of cars. I'm feeling in control. And my wife, she's doing different things. She's doing awesome, working on stuff. But there was one moment where she just happened to look up at the exact moment that I was about to change lanes to go around a car, but she didn't know that she just looked up, and there was a car I was about to hit. Right? What did she do? She put on her lovely brake. She just pushed it really hard. That imaginary brake that we all have as a passenger. And in that moment, what did I do? Sadly, I listened to that toddler brain and said, oh my gosh, my wife does not trust me. She does not trust me. And I kind of told her that, sadly. But I'm grateful because 2 seconds later, my adult brain turned on. And it gave me a wonderful insight that said, hey, what if my wife is driving and she looks up and she sees a car that close? What would I want her to do? I'd want her to put on her brakes. So in that moment, I turned to her and said, thank you. Thank you for putting on your brake, because if that was true, I'm glad that you would have protected us. I'm glad that you would have protected yourself. Your desire to attach and be loved is fixed, but your attachment style is not. It shifts when your nervous system has enough safe experiences to learn a new way to protect. That's what therapy does. That's what a safe relationship does. They teach your body, you don't have to protect like this anymore. But I understand why you did. Thank you. I see why you did that, but you don't have to do it anymore. Because as you shift to a new understanding, a new healthy protection, you will also learn to have empathy for why you did the things you did, and empathy for why others around you did the things they did. And you will start to see clearly that you were never a bad person. Nothing was never wrong with you. You were just doing the best with what you were given. It just happened to be unhealthy. Your desire to be good ironically fueled your unhealthy patterns. So what does that tell me about you? It tells me that you're awesome, and that you've always been awesome, and that has never changed. You are awesome, you are amazing, and you make sense. Let me tell you that again. You are awesome, you are amazing, and you make sense. Next week's video will be on understanding why anxiety makes sense. And if you didn't watch last week's video, please click and watch that one too. And to keep learning more about how to see yourself and your emotions differently and why you make sense, make sure to subscribe. Thank you.